Hello everyone and welcome inside the Rogers Center for the final game of this 3-game series between the Minnesota Twins and the Toronto Blue Jays. Both teams have won a game apiece, and the final game goes today on Jackie Robinson Day. Chase Anderson will make the start, donning the number 42, as all the players on the field are today.
Chase Anderson went 6 2/3 against the Royals back on Friday, where he didn't allow a hit until the 4th, and then the only 2 runs he did allow scored after reaching base via the free pass when he walked the bases loaded in the 7th. He ran out of the gas there and gave up a bit of a blemish on what was otherwise a great start, but regardless picked up the win and now is 3-0 with an ERA under 3 coming into this start against the Twins.
So we thank you for joining us today on the Virtual Jays Network. Jackson Farough alongside Drew Frank, as Chase Anderson will get us started against Luis Arraez on Jackie Robinson Day, of course. And as I mentioned, all the players wear number 42 on today, and honoring his debut on April 15th, 1947, at the age of 28, with, at the time, the Brooklyn Dodgers.
And recently, The Athletic featured the top 100 players in baseball history, and Jackie Robinson well in the upper half of that list. A guy that, of course, off the field, all sorts of positive impacts in the game of baseball, but on the field, a very established hitter himself.
Yeah, I mean, a career .311 hitter, and 197 stolen bases in his career as well. Back, a lot of people don't know, he actually spent some time in Montreal prior to his big league career. In 1946, he batted .349 with a .929 OPS and 40 stolen bases with Montreal. He could play second, first, third, a real versatile, speedy, crafty player, and played 10 seasons, and a Hall of Famer, as you mentioned, listed as one of the top players, and was also listed on Time's Players of the Century. And so now we'll see the number 3 hitter Nelson Cruz, as Luis Arraez singled to left. Jorge Polanco flew out to Bichette, the shortstop, today for the Blue Jays. So now it'll be Nelson Cruz hitting .311, and he had himself quite the day yesterday as well.
Big day from yesterday. Went 2 for 5, picked up a home run and a double, scored twice, and there's a reason that the center of this Twins lineup is looking the same today as it did yesterday, because it was red hot. There's a few changes up at the top. We see Buxton move down from leadoff to the 9-hole because Arraez gets back in the lineup. He led off today. The other major change is Kepler, who was bumped down to the 8-hole yesterday, is now bumped out of the lineup, as it's instead Alex Avila at first base. And other than that, a couple positional shifts as Eddie Rosario gets the day off. So from second to left goes Marwin Gonzalez, and then, as mentioned, in at second base is Luis Arraez.
So Cruz back in the lineup today, and he's in a 2-2 count. Takes outside from Anderson. And, I think one thing about, just back to Jackie Robinson, obviously everyone knows the first African-American to play in modern Major League Baseball. Also, off the field, the first African-American television analyst in Major League Baseball. I thought that was, very neat. So he was breaking barriers in multiple facets, of course. And as that one has popped out to the catcher, Jansen. Now 2 away here in the first for the Twins.
Well, and that's a little-known fact about his TV career, but that stems from the fact that he was just he truly understood the game of baseball, and he came from a background of all sports. I mean, he played football with UCLA as a quarterback and as a key player with one of their teams, and then transitioned into a couple different sports. There's a couple stories that baseball was his 3rd or 4th best sport when he was in his college days, just because of how truly athletically talented he was. And on defense, there's all sorts of difficulties when trying to come up with defensive metrics, from times before there was StatCast and times before we had these advanced trackers, but he's right at the top of all sorts of different lists just because of the numbers he put up in the field and all the raving reviews he got on the eye test as a result of that pure athleticism he brought to the field.
And you just mentioned a pure athlete, right? And I think that's a really good way to put it. All-star in 6 straight seasons, starting in 1949. Also won the MVP in 49 after hitting .342. Just 16 home runs, but 124 RBI. It just showed back then you didn't need all that power to drive in runs. There were many different ways you could generate offense, and he certainly proved that, winning the batting title back then. Won a World Series as well in 1955 later on in his career.
Well, and now here tonight, the Twins are quickly mounting something. They've got 2 runners on, and Josh Donaldson, who had a pretty big day yesterday, of course, just reaching 1 time, going 1 for 5, but the one was an absolutely destroyed ball that got out to left field.
Yeah, that must have felt good for the former Blue Jay, of course. We've discussed it at length so far this series, but yes, in this rubber match, Donaldson will look to continue that surge. And again, he's hit a lot of home runs in this park, and it was a very familiar one. You know, he pulled it to left, and he absolutely drilled it with that very graceful swing with the huge leg kick that Blue Jays fans have come to know pretty well, pretty familiar with. He's in a 1-1 count to Anderson. Fouls it off, falls behind now in the count.
It's a nice spot for Anderson. His fastball's got a bit of movement on it, and it'll move in towards Donaldson, so he starts to the side to try and catch it back into the plate.
As that one is hit past Anderson and right up the middle, Grichuk fields, and a run will come in to score. It'll be Luis Arraez. So the first run of the game posted by the Twins here on a 2-out single RBI from Josh Donaldson.
Quick start here from the Twins. Arraez managed to reach on a single to get things going, and then after the walk, moved him over the second base. Scores all the way from second because that ball hit out to center field, didn't have a lot on it, and it took its time getting out to Randall Grichuk. So the fact it got past Anderson without him knocking it down or keeping it on the infield basically meant that Arraez was going to score from second uncontested by the time Grichuk got to that ball.
So Mitch Garver hitting .351 on the year and catching once again today for the Twins, steps in. Swings on that low offering, and it's an 0-2 count now.
A nice swing and miss with that changeup. He's looked good locating it so far in this young season here in his 4th start, and he's been able to use it effectively and not walk too many batters by missing with it.
That one's driven into right center field. Hernandez giving chase at the warning track is able to make the play. So the Twins start off the game with a run scored and a couple hits on Jackie Robinson Day in Toronto. Well, everyone, and welcome back in the Virtual Jays Network. So now, bottom of the first inning, we're going to see Homer Bailey toe the rubber for the Twins today.
Homer Bailey is a guy they picked up on a 1-year contract at a pretty good price point for these Twins. 1 year at $7 million, and he's a guy that's been around the league in both sides, the AL and the NL. Put up, well, so far this year, he's put up an ERA around 5, but last year in his stint with the A's, he pitched 70 innings of an ERA closer to 4. A guy that's going to give you some reliable innings and a more of a workhorse than an elite pitcher necessarily, but a pretty decent career for him so far, and a guy that this younger pitching staff of the Twins can count on for, at the very least, a handful of innings.
1 ball, 1 strike.
So it'll be the shortstop, Bo Bichette, leading off for the Jays today. 0 for 3 with a walk yesterday, and 0 for 3 with a walk as well on Monday. Hitting just 127 on the season.
2 balls, 1 strike.
Takes low for ball number 2. And the Blue Jays defense today will be pretty normal for them. Bichette at shortstop, Biggio at second base, and then Brandon Drury slots in at third base again, and Travis Shaw, as usual, at first. In the outfield, it's Gurriel Jr. and left, Randall Grichuk at center, and Teoscar Hernandez at right, with Danny Jansen catching today, as Bichette grounds out to third. One away now.
And a nice play there by Donaldson. And Bailey's more of a pitch-to-contact type of pitcher than a guy that's going to generate a lot of strikeouts. So he's going to need that type of defense, especially on the infield. He's got a very effective splitter that he goes to quite often, and that generates a lot of ground balls. So if he has that pitch working for him, he's going to go to it quite a bit, and he's going to need defense like Josh Donaldson provided there, showing a bit of range and his strong arm.
As Biggio cranks one into right field, and Cruz gives some chase at the warning track, is able to grab it. So Biggio takes Bailey for a ride, but he's unable to get that one out of the park, so now 2 out.
And just the final note on what Homer Bailey brings to the table here. An experienced pitcher. He had quite a solid start to his career with the Reds. Back in 2012, he put up a no-hitter while visiting the Pirates. Then he followed up the next year at home against the Giants. So 2 no-hitters in his career. There's only 6 pitchers ever that have more than that. So, while he doesn't quite have the storied numbers that would put up much of a, too great of an overall career, he's had his moments.
As Grichuk drills one into left center field, that one's gone. It's a tie ball game. Randall Grichuk with a first inning home run, absolute shot to left center.
Speaking of having your moments, Randall Grichuk, a guy that's come in clutch for these Jays quite often. He's hitting up over 400 with runners in scoring position so far in this 2020 season. Evens things up early here with a major blast out to left center field. That one, there was a couple steps taken in center by Buxton, but not more than that. You could tell right off the bat. Bailey knows it, Grichuk knows it, and it's a tie ball game.
His second home run of the season. Didn't mess around with that. Pretty much a no-doubter, 437 feet to left center here at the Rogers Center. So the crowd's up and full of life now, and they sure weren't yesterday. It was an 8-0 game at one point and ended up becoming 8-3. The Jays were able to generate some offense back in the 9th. But yeah, they didn't have much to cheer about yesterday, so a little bit of a different start to this one.
Yeah, on a Tuesday night, you saw a lot of the fans last night leaving early as things got out of hand. Tonight, it's our last night here at the Rogers Center for about a 2-week period as the Jays head to the road to face Tampa, Boston, and Baltimore before returning back here the last week of April on the 27th. So this will be the last chance for the Jays to make some noise at home until the end of the month.
Yes, pretty big road trip coming up early on in the season, and because they are going to Tampa, Boston, and Baltimore, 3 divisional opponents, and we've already seen the Red Sox this season, and the Jays were able to obviously get a sweep in that first series of the year. Haven't seen the Rays or the O's yet, but important divisional standings, especially against Tampa's really struggled to start the year, and so have the Orioles. So if you can catch some fire, which the Jays have, and head on that road trip, could be pretty beneficial. As Gurriel Jr. grounds out, so it's a tie ball game here as we head to the second in Toronto. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Rogers Center. Bit of a sad day, a sad couple days around baseball. As found out yesterday, Hank Steinbrenner, part of the legendary Yankees ownership family, the Steinbrenners, died at the age of 63 in Clearwater. It was announced yesterday, and He was the older brother of Yankees principal owner and managing partner Hal. Of course, the team was passed down from their father George, and Hank's always remembered as someone a little more the outspoken brother, much more like George. So that one's grounded to shorts. Third during the shift, and he's able to make the play. And it's interesting, actually, in 1990, when George Steinbrenner was suspended from baseball, the Yankees suggested Hank would succeed George as the team's managing partner, but the other owners of Major League Baseball said they wouldn't approve Hank, and Hank actually stepped away from the team. So certainly the fiery brother, and Hal ended up, the younger brother, as I mentioned, becoming the managing partner. But still, a legendary. There's not too many royal families of baseball, but I think the Steinbrenners are definitely one of those. So we here at the Virtual Jays Network definitely keeping the Steinbrenners in our thoughts and prayers today. As Alex Avila steps in, and he's in a 1-1 count. The number 8 hitter playing first base today.
And always sad at any time the loss of someone whose life has been so interconnected with the sport and so many others for so many years, but just sad to hear. Age 63, long-standing health issues is what was said as what ultimately led to his passing, but just sad all around at a young age.
Certainly, so lots of different emotions, to say the least, being felt in a game like today. But we're glad you're joining us here. As that one's hit right back up to Anderson. He's able to field it and make the play. So 2 out now, and it will be Byron Buxton playing center field today for the Twins.
Buxton back in center, got the day off to start this series. So with him in center, the Twins outfield is looking closer to what you'll see most of the year, as he's in center with Marwin Gonzalez out in left and Cruz to his Cruz in the other corner out in right field. And interesting, they're sticking with Cruz so far. He'll have the off day to rest tomorrow, but I'm surprised personally to see him getting so much time in the outfield. And then around the infield from third to first for them, it'll be Donaldson, Polanco, Arias, and Avila, who we saw in the last at-bat there, getting a start at first today, which is a little surprising to see.
Certainly, he's played a little bit of first in his career, as Buxton swings and misses there and strikes out. So Anderson works quickly through the second. Remains a tie ball game here in Toronto. Well, I want to welcome back Virtual Jays Network here in Toronto. Final game of what has been a, 7-game homestand for the Jays here before they head off on quite the road trip. Gurriel Jr. steps in, takes strike number 1 here.
It'll be Lourdes Gurriel to greet Homer Bailey here in the second inning. After the Jays tied it up with a solo home run, that was the only real blemish they were able to get against Homer Bailey. Kevin Biggio hit one deep to the track, but wasn't able to reach, and that's kind of been a theme for these Jays over the past few games. They weren't able to attack Kenta Maeda early yesterday. We saw Jorge Lopez look good early for the Royals too.
As Gurriel takes it for a ride into left field. But Marwin Gonzalez is there at the warning track. So one away now as we take a look at the Twins defense here.
And talks about Alex Avila at first base. He started there 24 times in his career, in 2015 and in 2017 at different stretches. It's interesting. Yesterday, Max Kepler, who had played first base the first 2 games of the series, was the only guy on that Twins roster not to get a hit yesterday as part of their 8-run explosion. They combined for 13 hits, but Kepler 0 for 4 on the day. Gets the night off. Not sure if that's just to rest him. They've got the off day tomorrow, or potentially for some other reason. But regardless, Avila will take the start, and he's in today.
Shaw drills it into right field. He absolutely slapped that baseball, and that one is gone. Fifth shot of the year for Travis Shaw. Yanks one into right. 422 feet. And it's a 2-1 ball game here.
And we've seen almost all of Shaw's home runs looking the same like that. He gets a pitch that he can pull on a line drive out into the seats. He's not skying balls necessarily because he's not getting underneath them. He's just squaring them up, and all the power he's got just pulls it right out of the yard.
We take a look here. Yeah, Bailey just pitch kind of got up much too high, at least higher than he wanted, and Shaw was able to take advantage.
That ball ended up right about middle, hanging up over the plate. And Shaw, as we said, doesn't really lift the ball. He squares it up with so much power that's all it takes. More of a line shot. You can see 109 mile an hour on the exit velocity.
So Shaw, the number 6 hitter, takes Bailey into the seats. So 2 home runs so far in this game by Grichuk and Shaw have given us our score for the Blue Jays, as well as the Twins with, with Donaldson hitting a single. That was yesterday, all those home runs. But yes, the Blue Jays being able to generate some offense much more earlier here as opposed to yesterday. So we'll see Brandon Drury step in. Always lots of home runs hit in this park, it seems. Something about it. And it is obviously a boom box, as it's known around the AL East. And a 2-2 count to Brandon Drury. Looking to get himself some boom as he fouls that one off.
And just touching on the Jays' lack of ability to attack these starters, the past 3 games between Maeda, Jake Odorizzi, and Jorge Lopez of the Royals, the Jays have been able to get 5 hits off of those 3 guys in a combined 17 2/3 innings, and Brandon Drury swinging and missing on this high fastball isn't going to help add to that today against Homer Bailey.
Yep, swings and misses on a high inside pitch from Bailey. So his first strikeout of the day brings up number 8 hitter Teoscar Hernandez, hitting number 8 for the 3rd straight day in this series alone. Still hitting 189. But he went 1 for 3 yesterday. But prior to that, he went 0 for 3 on Monday with 3 strikeouts.
And the one single he did get yesterday followed it up by promptly getting thrown out on the bases trying to steal second. So not especially the best luck for him.
As he swings on that, low pitch from Bailey over to third. And the routine play is made by Donaldson. A home run by Travis Shaw gives the Blue Jays the lead here in the 2nd inning as we head to the 3rd in Toronto. So we'll see Luis Ariz now step in and get set to lead off the 3rd inning, I should say. He's 1 for 1, came around to score back in the 1st, and he's the only run scored on the board for the Twins today. It's Chase Anderson, just 30 pitches so far, and he was able to get a 1-2-3 inning in the 2nd.
Well, for Ariz, the secret to his success is just trying to make solid contact and not trying to lift the ball and not do too much with it. But in his first at-bat, we saw him do it perfectly, where he just took a pitch on the outer half of the plate, slapped it between the 5-6 hole and into the outfield. A leadoff single is all they need from him, and they came around to score.
Chase Anderson is able to drop that circle change right at the bottom part of the zone. Gets ahead in the count now, 1-2. And he gets the swing and miss from Ariz there. Some good sequencing, some great location from Anderson.
And a guy with great contact skills. You don't see swings and misses very often unless his timing is completely fooled. And you mentioned great sequencing, sets up that curveball. He was out in front of it trying to spoil a fastball in the outer half, but as it continued to break away, wasn't able to hang tight with it. And Anderson picks up the strikeout to start this third frame.
So there'll be Polanco now in. Takes high and inside. And, a really good couple of games in this series for the shortstop. As he pops that one into left field, Gurriel Jr. ranges to his left and makes the catch.
Two quick outs now for Chase Anderson. A bit of shakiness in that first inning where 6 batters came to the plate and one of them scored, of course, but now he's managing his pitch count a little nicer, able to settle down, but he's got a big test here in the ever-dangerous Nelson Cruz.
0 for 1, and he popped out into foul territory in his last at-bat. We've talked a lot about in this series about Cruz and kind of his late career renaissance, and he's made most of the hay in his career, so to say. He's been most productive, hitting 40-plus home run seasons multiple times, all in his 30s, and mid to late 30s as well.
Well, and he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down, which is why I don't get the decision to test him by putting him in the field every day.
And he's able to sail that ball right over the fence and gone. 7 home runs on the year for Nelson Cruz as he takes Chase Anderson deep to left. And we got ourselves a tie ball game here.
Just one shy of the Twins team leader, Sano, with 8. Cruz making a case. He's got 7 on the year. And that one, much like the Shaw home run, you can tell off the bat it was going to go, but very different from the Shaw home run. You can see the launch angle and just the way this one's hit. He gets under it, and it's got some height to it, and it sails out of here all the way into that 100 level there.
Over 400 career home runs for the right fielder today for the Twins, and he continues to add to it with bombs like that. And now another guy who can really launch balls out of parks. It's Miguel Sano. He walked back in the first inning as he drills that one into left. And just as I was mentioning, if it's fair, it's gone. And it sails foul, but that sure was a close one. That was a no-doubter if it was fair.
We saw yesterday it was Cruz who hit the home run for the Twins. He got the day off on our first game on Monday. But now 2 home runs in 2 games for Cruz, a guy that's always hit the Jays well in his career, continues that here into 2020.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
Sano taking high. Had Achilles surgery back in March of 2019. So he missed a good portion of last season. And he's in quite the battle now with Chase Anderson here with 2 away.
Nice spoil there by Sano. Stays alive, and we'll see another pitch here, 2-2.
And he's called out on strikes. That off-speed pitch slithers into the bottom part of the zone. But not before Nelson Cruz is able to tie this thing up on a shot to left. We head to the bottom of the 3rd in Toronto. And it's the birthday boy at the plate. Happy 25th to Danny Jansen, catching for the Blue Jays today. As he steps in, takes first pitch ball high from Homer Bailey, 1-0.
Gets the start again tonight. Started the opener on Monday, the day off yesterday, back in the lineup here.
As he smashes one to left, that'll go past the left fielder Gonzalez off the wall. So a leadoff double here in the third. And a nice little birthday present, his fourth of the year, for the catcher.
Well, that was almost a present from Gonzalez. Not the greatest jump. He almost took a step in first before reading that it would be over his head and racing back. He almost managed to catch up to it with a leap there, but it'll fall in over his head, and the Jays are in business now. Runner in scoring position for the top of the order.
So a swing and a drive off the wall puts a runner in scoring position now for the top of the lineup. Bo Bichette 0 for 1, grounded out to third in the first inning. We've talked a little bit about Bichette, his struggles to start the year. Perhaps if Charlie Montoyo, manager of the Blue Jays, is going to maybe try to move him around the lineup a little bit. He's made a couple lineup shifts today with some other players, but really holding steady, Montoyo is, with Bichette in the number 1 spot in the lineup.
Yeah, it'll be interesting whether or not things change as your sample size get bigger and bigger, and guys that have been hot continue to stay hot, but he's giving him every chance to succeed here.
1 and 2, count.
So he takes outside, and he's got a chance to drive in some runs here. 1-2, and he whiffs on that one. Swings right over top of that. So 2 strikeouts now for Bailey.
The second baseman, Cafe.
And that adds on to 2 strikeouts already in this series for Bichette. Sorry, that's his 4th. Adds on to 3 in this series. He had 2 yesterday, as well as 1 in the opener, and he managed to walk and score yesterday, but other than that, he's hitless in this series.
0 and 1.
And every young hitter goes through something like that, right, Drew? And that's why you have to grind through the minors to know what it's like to face some serious adversity. And now we'll see how Bichette is able to recover from that as we move forward. And 0-1 now to Biggio. Takes inside and evens up the count at 1.
Biggio chased Duffy from the game yesterday with a RBI double in the 9th that drove in Bichette after he walked, and Biggio himself later scored.
As he takes a hack at that inside pitch. Misses it though, and Bailey's able to get ahead. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And it swung on inside and fouled off.
Well, Biggio chases what would have been a ball, but he's just trying to get a ball in play here to move the runner over from second and not strike out and leave him on second.
And there's a big cut and a miss there on that one. That outside pitch gets Biggio to go. So back-to-back strikeouts for Bailey here in the third.
And that's exactly what he was trying to avoid doing. Now with back-to-back strikeouts, Danny Jansen, who had a leadoff double, still standing out there on second base. Hasn't been moved any closer, and now Grichuk will have to try and bring him home now from second.
Hit a home run already in this game, and hits one into deep, shallow right field, but the second baseman arrives deep there to make the play. So it'll be a 2-2 game as we head to the 4th here on Jackie Robinson Day. Hello everyone and welcome back on the Virtual Jays Network. Jackson Farough, joined by Drew Frank in the booth. This final game of a 3-game set between the Twins and the Blue Jays. On Monday night, Jays took it 3-1. Some good pitching from Ryu, Giles, amongst others. Pardon me, Shoemaker, Giles, amongst others. And then yesterday, well, not so much good pitching. Tanner Roark and Shinya Yamaguchi really struggled. And this man, one of the many benefactors of that on the Twins lineup, Josh Donaldson at the plate. It was an 8-3 game yesterday. Donaldson had a home run in that game. And we'll see what he gets up to today. He's already had a single and an RBI back in the first.
Outside, ball.
Takes outside for a 2-0 count now.
You mentioned the pitching. The Jays can have a tough task on their next game. They head to Tampa after the off day tomorrow. On Friday night, they'll be facing Tyler Glasnow, who is a very, very strong pitcher. He hasn't had much of an MLB career yet due to injuries and not many opportunities, but what he's had, he's looked very strong, and they'll be sending Trent Thornton out against him on Friday.
Yeah, so very interesting pitcher and a fascinating one to watch. One of the young stars in this league. So I'm very excited to see that. And you should be too. We'll have all that coverage for you here on the VJN. A full count with the third baseman, Josh Donaldson. Fouled off. Count remains full here.
Glasnow faced the Jays in spring training. Of course, he wasn't quite as sharp as he probably would have liked to have been. The Jays managed to hang an L against him, but he struck out 6 in just 4 innings against them.
Now batting.
As that pitch misses very far outside, so much so that the outstretched glove of Jansen wasn't able to retrieve it. So Donaldson gets a leadoff walk, and that'll be Mitch Garver, who flew out to right in the first, to end the first, I should say. Garver fouls off that first pitch into the seats past the first base line.
Garver back behind the plate, as you mentioned, going to have a chance to add on to what was a very effective day at the plate yesterday. The middle of the Twins' order was really what elevated them to that 8-3 victory, because they scored almost all of their runs in back-to-back-to-back innings, where it was the middle of the order that was able to produce time and time again.
Yeah, you're right about that. You know, the 5th inning, right? There's a couple home runs. It was started off by a leadoff home run. Polanco drills one. And then Josh Donaldson gets a 2-run shot. And then the 6th, Nelson Cruz decides to go yard. A 2-run shot. Yeah, this middle of the lineup, man, you cannot mess with it. And I think a lot of pitchers in the American League are going to realize that. This is a filthy lineup from top to bottom. They have a lot of versatile players. You got some speed in a guy like Buxton. So much power. And even some contact guys like Arise and Polanco will get on base for you. It's something that can definitely withstand a couple injuries too, right?
And that's why you should expect to see them really make a run. Well, they're in second right now. My money wouldn't bet on that lasting too much longer, as the Indians themselves, who lead the division, have quite a few more blemishes than this Twins team.
As that one's chopped past first baseman Shaw, and it gets into the right field. So first and second now, nobody out, as Garver continues his hitting streak now to 11 games.
A really great plate appearance by him. He worked the count full and had a real battle with Chase Anderson. Finally gets a pitch that he can do something with out over the plate on the outer half, stays with it, waits on it, and takes it through that hole on the infield.
That's the word I was looking for. And that hole right between first and second, he's able to chop it through there and get on. So it'll be Marwin Gonzalez, a couple runners on and nobody out, looking to cause some damage. A good matchup for him as well. As he flies that one out into left field, Gurriel Jr. gets underneath it, gets the throw in. Donaldson cannot advance. So one away now.
The first baseman.
Quick work made there of Marwin Gonzalez, and that'll bring up the first baseman today, who had the day off yesterday, but on game 1 of this series, he went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. So he's going to have to really bounce back from that. All 4 of those were swinging as he chased a couple pitches out of the zone and swung through ones that were in the zone. He missed a couple fastballs that challenged him up and in a pair of those strikeouts, and now Chase Anderson ahead 0-1 already.
As Avila takes strike number 2, man, Anderson is really able to get that off-speed pitch right at the bottom part of that plate. He's getting all the calls on that one. 0-2 misses outside.
Well, it's been a very effective pitch for him, and a reason that he managed to get through that Kansas City lineup through the 6th by just allowing 2 hits in his last start. It was that breaking ball and his positioning of all his pitches.
He gets him on the breaking ball there. 4th strikeout for Chase in this one. And an off-speed whiffed over by Avila.
That one down in the dirt. Would have been a ball if he had laid off it, but unable to. Swing and miss right through that one. And now it'll be Byron Buxton, 2 on, 2 out. Himself a victim of that low curveball as he struck out on it in his first at-bat.
Buxton, one of the fastest players in all the big leagues. Hitting 226 on the year. Whiffs on that 0-1 offering from Anderson. Places it perfectly right in the bottom part of the strike zone there. Working quickly ahead is Chase Anderson. And that off speed is taken by Buxton.
Wow, 2 strikes. Buxton's going to have to try and battle here and get something in play.
Buxton made a really good play in the 6th inning yesterday. He grounded into what would have been a double play. In fact, an inning-ending double play. But he's able to beat out the throw, I should say, and get on. And then the very next batter up, Jorge Polanco, hits a double, and Buxton's able to score from first. And then Nelson Cruz is able to drive both himself and Polanco home on a 2-run shot. So, talk about generating offense and sticking to the fundamentals. You see why coaches preach it. As that one is thrown to second for the force out. And it'll end this inning. So it remains 2-2 here as we head to the bottom of the 4th in Toronto. Hello everyone and welcome back on the Virtual Jays Network. Jackson Farough alongside Drew Frank. The final game of a 7-game homestand for the Blue Jays, who have won 4 of their last 5. They were on a nice little streak before losing 8-3 yesterday. And that one is popped out into right. Cruz comes forward and makes the play. 1 away now.
After Guerrero Jr. to start the inning, it'll be Gurriel Jr. and Shaw due up in, well, you'll see Gurriel Jr. right now, but after him it'll be Shaw. And both guys that hit balls pretty hard out into the outfield. Gurriel lifted one to left that was tracked down and kept in the yard. Shaw, his hit was well out of the yard, and that's what brought in the Jays' second run that now has the game tied.
Gurriel Jr. working ahead here. He's taking 3 pitches, all balls. And he gets that one in there. Bailey does, as it just paints the upper part of the plate.
Nice spotting with the fastball right in the corner of the zone. Outer part of the plate, right up at the letters, and he gets the call.
That one slapped through the gap. in the left infield there as it gets past the third baseman Donaldson. So Gurriel Jr. gets a one-out single here to left.
And now Travis Shaw coming up. He's a guy that has some experience against Homer Bailey. He's the only guy in the Jays lineup today that's got 20 plate appearances against Homer Bailey. And now if you count the home run in his first at-bat, he's 5 for 19 with 3 home runs and 5 RBIs against Homer Bailey in addition to 2 walks. So 3 home runs in just 21 plate appearances is pretty impressive in that sample size.
Bailey a career .457 ERA. And in fact, last year he matched his career total exactly by putting up a .457 ERA. This is his 14th season in the big leagues. He turns 34 in May.
2-1 to count.
Spent majority of his career with Cincinnati, but also spent some time with Kansas City and Oakland last season. Was traded to the Dodgers as part of that big Yasiel Puig, Alex Wood trade, and that was on December 21st, 2018. And then the very next day, the 22nd, he gets released. So his time spent with the Dodgers certainly was a brief one, as he gets a swing and a miss there from Shaw, that low pitch. So 2 away now.
Traded to the Dodgers mostly entirely just for his financial implications when they were trying to structure out that trade with the Reds. Puig had a bit of a salary, and Alex Wood had a bit of a salary, as well as Matt Kemp, who was involved, was the big financial implication that was dealt with there. But Homer Bailey, a guy that's been in the league early, like he got in at age 21, which is very early for a pitcher to get into the major leagues. And as you mentioned, he's already into his 14th year despite only being in his age 34 season.
A nice veteran presence for this Twins team.
That's the ball.
The 0-2 to Drury, taken low and inside for ball number 1. Runner on first. As that one is flown out into left field, Gonzalez sprints over, takes a couple steps back, and catches the baseball. So after allowing a single to Gurriel Jr., Bailey escapes and will head to the 5th, tied in Toronto.
Leading off for the Twins, the second baseman.
Welcome back. Luis Arias leads off the 5th inning for us here on the Virtual Jays Network, just as he led off the 1st and 3rd.
The reason he's leading off is because Buxton, both times he came up to the plate, unable to keep the inning alive, came up with 2 outs in the top of the 2nd, and ended up striking out, came up with 2 outs in the top of the 4th just this past inning, and ended up grounding out. So Arias unable to come up with runners on base, but it's been okay for him so far as he reached in the 1st.
That one's hit out into center. Grichuk dives, and he's unable to make the play. The ball goes behind him and is now fielded by Gurriel Jr. coming in from left. So it's a leadoff double for Arias. A good effort by Grichuk in center, but unable to make the play.
And credited for a double. Grichuk came very close to this one, lays out fully to try and haul it in, but unable to as it'll bounce behind him. And there's a reason that Gurriel cuts that one off before Teoscar Hernandez gets a chance to, because they both know Gurriel's got a stronger arm out there, and that's what kept Arias at second base. A pretty speedy runner himself could have potentially turned and gone for 3 there, as both outfielders were not ready in a prime throwing position, but because of the cannon that Lourdes Gurriel Jr. possesses, Arias has to stay put at second base.
and scoring that. I mean, I'm not sure. If Grichuk doesn't dive on that and he just, stays behind it and fields it cleanly, I'm not sure how Arise is able to still reach second on that. I think that would only be a single, so we'll see if that stays the same on the score sheet, but for now, it's scored a double. 2-0 to Jorge Polanco, is 0 for 2 on the day. Pops it up over to the third base side. Drury's there to make the play. 1 away now.
And that's 0 for 3 for Polanco today. A bat that Chase Anderson here has been able to neutralize, but not in the first 2 games of the series where the Jays able to do the same. 4 for 9 so far this series, 3 runs scored, a home run, a double, a walk. He's pretty much done it all offensively and been very valuable near the top of the Twins' order.
As Cruz takes another shot in the left, this time it stays in the park. Gurriel Jr. is there to make the play. 2 away now.
That ball was hit hard too. It was just, he didn't get enough underneath that ball to lift it up and out or up and even to get to the wall, but it was still almost seemed like it was rising as it got to Gurriel out there because that ball was squared up nicely, just unfortunately for Cruz, right to Gurriel and unable to reach base.
Quite the gorgeous swing that Cruz has. You mentioned it yesterday. Really extends his arms and just able to generate so much power and torque. Look at me, a bit of a swing coach here, sitting in the booth. And 0-1 to Sano. Comes a 1-1 now as that one misses outside.
Sano's shown great discipline throughout this whole series and his willingness to take pitches. He struck out looking twice already on breaking balls that have caught the lower part of the zone right at the knees because he's shown, again, he's willing to let that one go if it's right around the edges and trying to work a walk.
The 2-1 to Sano is drilled in the left. He had one similar to this earlier, but it was foul. Will this one stay fair? And it does. That one's gone. A 2-run shot for Miguel Sano. His 9th on the season. Now ties Encarnacion for the AL lead. And the Twins have the lead here.
Jumps right back on top of that leaderboard. His teammate Cruz showed him how to do it in his first at-bat. Sorry, in Cruz's second at-bat. And Sano just about followed suit. You mentioned pulled the first one just foul. Here he gets all of this one. Deposits it into the fans. Into that cheering section out in the outfield and quiets down all the fans that sure had a lot more to be excited about when the Jays tied it up on Grichuk's 1-1 blast back in the first.
Sano really seeing Anderson's pitches well at the moment. He walked in the first and had a very close, hardly hit ball to left in the third. Ultimately ended up striking a looking, but then a 2-run shot now in the 5th. So a good day at the plate for Sano. And it'll be Donaldson at the plate now. He's 1 for 1 with a walk. Takes in the outside part of the plate. He evens up the count at 1 now.
Both times Donaldson's been able to reach. He hasn't gotten much further than first base. Got the second in his last at-bat, but again, no further because the bottom of this Twins lineup so far today hasn't done much of anything at all. 7 through 9 is combined to go 0 for 6 with 2 strikeouts already and a pair of groundouts, so it'll be interesting as this game progresses. The Twins have a lead, so they could just try and hold on to this, but if the bottom of the order comes around to contribute, we mentioned it's been the big bats doing it all so far this series.
As that one's popped up in a foul territory, Jansen is there to make the play. So Donaldson is retired, but Miguel Sano hits a 2-out shot to left. Gives the Twins a 2-run lead here on Jackie Robinson Day in Toronto. Hello, welcome back on the Virtual Jays Network here at the Rogers Center. It's Twins Blue Jays here. In the final game of a 3-game set, both teams have taken one, so this is the rubber match. Bailey against Anderson, and so far Bailey's winning that battle, but not by much. A couple solo shots by the Jays here. Grichuk in the first, Shaw in the second, have given the Blue Jays a couple runs. But we're seeing the middle lineup really work for the Twins once again today, as Sano has hit a 2-run shot. Cruz hit a home run. Donaldson with an RBI single. Once again, the big bats coming alive for Minnesota. So how can Toronto try to counteract that? It starts with Teoscar Hernandez, the right fielder.
Well, and the Jays themselves, they've got 2 home runs, but what they need to do against Homer Bailey is hit what's in the zone. As Hernandez does a great job right there as he laces that one into right field. But what I mean by that is Homer Bailey is the guy that's going to pump the strike zone, especially now as he's later into his career. He's not the same swing and miss guy he was when he got those 2 perfect games and when he was coming up as a young Red. He's now focusing on getting quality innings, and that means not walking a lot of guys, not messing around, and keeping his pitch count at a sustainable level that he can go 6, 7, 8 innings every time out. And so for the Jays, that means there's going to be a lot of pitches in the zone to swing at, which means you need to stop chasing balls out of the zone. We've already seen a couple strikeouts on swings and misses that were chases, and instead focus on just maintaining your discipline, keeping your approach simple, and doing exactly what Teoscar Hernandez did, where if it's in the zone, keep a nice simple swing and just hit it to the opposite field for a base hit.
So it'll be Danny Jansen, number 9 hitter. Of course, it's his birthday, turning 25, as we mentioned earlier. And a double back in the third for Jansen. He'll look to get another hit like that, as that would possibly get himself an RBI. Hernandez has some speed at first.
Couple nice takes as Bailey misses the zone. The second one, fastball right at the knees, but just a bit off the black, and good eye by Jansen there.
Takes low, now a 3-0 count. Bailey's pitch count remains rather low. This is his 63rd, and that one touches the bottom part of the zone.
So 3-1 now to Jansen on deck. Looming is Bo Bichette. Guy that hasn't had much of a chance to do anything yet and hasn't capitalized, but potentially, as the count's now full to Jansen, if he can do something here. There's already a runner on first and none out for the Jays in the 5th.
So 3 balls and 2 strikes to Danny Jansen, the birthday boy. With nobody out and a runner on, he's got a chance here to generate some offense. His bottom of the lineup been rather productive today, and has a chance to continue that. That one's fouled down the first base line. The payoff from Bailey. Swung on over to the shortstop Polanco. He's able to knock it down. Makes the throw, and it will not be in time. Jansen gets an infield hit, and first and second, nobody out now.
Great stop there on the infield. Able to get up and make a play against the catcher who is running. Not necessarily the closest play at first base, as Jansen is in there safely, but a great effort by the shortstop Polanco there, as shows off a little bit of his range and glove work to get to that ball, unable to pick it clean.
As Bichette drills one into the seats there. Foul territory, of course. But here's a really good chance for the leadoff hitter, who we've mentioned in this game, in this series rather. He's really struggled. He's 0 for 2 in this game, and he's hitting well below 200 start the season. Just 143 with runners in scoring position. 0 for 3 yesterday with a walk. Same thing in Monday's game. And he gets another strikeout there. Now low off speed from Bailey. He's working it. 5 strikeouts for him on the day.
And back-to-back pitches that were chased out of the zone. Fastball up above the letters that Bichette swings at. And now a curveball down below the knees Bichette went after. Not a great look for Bichette, whose struggles continue.
I think it's safe to say, Drew, he is completely lost at the plate at the moment.
Well, there's not many signs for optimism, as he's not showing great discipline, not showing great vision. And when he has been able to connect, he's not hitting balls overly hard. It's a lot of ground balls, or what he's reached have been bloop singles, and not overly promising after what was a great start to his career in 2019.
And as I mentioned earlier on, that adversity, it's good to go through for young players. It's just a matter of how you recover. And some veterans on this team, guys like Joe Panik and Travis Shaw, who I'm sure will sit down and have some words with him. As that one's hit over to the shortstop. And the play to second for one, and the first for two. So the double play, and the Twins get out of this inning. First and second, nobody on. Amounts to absolutely nothing for the Blue Jays here. Remains a 2-run lead for the Twinkies as we head to the sixth.
Your attention, please.
So now we'll see Sam Gaviglio step into the game for his third appearance on the mound for the Jays this season.
Gaviglio yet to allow a run, only appearing, as you mentioned, in 2 games. Not the biggest sample size for him yet, because the Jays, off to quite a hot start this season. They haven't really used these middle relievers very often. They've gotten great starts from their pitching rotation, many quality starts, and then with the lead, they've often gone to guys like Anthony Bass, and we've seen Giles quite overworked thus far this season. So a guy like Gaviglio hasn't really had too much of an opportunity, but now, after Anderson only goes 5 innings, maybe we'll see him get a couple innings of work tonight.
1-1.
So 1-1 to Garver, the catchers. We see the bullpen continue to stay very active for the Jays. Pannone, the lefty, and Yamaguchi, the righty, warming. So we're seeing the staff here for the Jays, whether it's Roark or Anderson, have a little bit of struggle now as we get more and more into the season. This bullpen, which has been a strength for Toronto so far, is going to really need to continue that, to support this rotation.
And that's exactly right. They've been very strong so far. Even a guy like Yamaguchi, whose ERA is up towards 4, he's given quality innings.
And Gaviglio starts things out in his outing with a strikeout on Garver. The well-hitting catcher just misses that low pitch.
Great mix there. Garver, no easy assignment for your first batter faced out of the pen, but after starting off strong against Garver, a bit of a easier load now facing 7-8-9, who hasn't been able to do anything or reach base yet tonight, so Gaviglio will look to lock in now and handle the bottom of the order in order now.
As Gonzalez fouls off that 1-0 from Gaviglio. Gonzalez 0 for 2 on the day as he grounds that one over to first. Make that 0 for 3 as Shaw steps on the bag. 2 away now.
And an out-of-town score update. The Tampa Bay Rays, who were trailing 5-4, have jumped on top. Now up 7-5 with a 3-run home run by Austin Meadows. Again, a team that the Jays will be seeing in their very next game on Friday for the first time of the season.
Yeah, so the Jays will break out the floaties and get some warm weather when we head to Tampa. And they certainly will want themselves a warm welcome. They get a day off tomorrow, and then they have a 3-gamer against an AL East opponent who, let's be honest, has struggled to start this season.
Very surprising, Tampa. You can't expect this to last very long. Only 5-14, but the Jays seem to be catching them at the right time.
And especially if the Jays, won 4 of the last 5. If they were to win today, that'd be 5 of the last 6, obviously, and that'd be a really nice little streak to carry on to a road trip. especially for a young team, that kind of confidence to have so early, that's very important.
Well, and without much going for a lot of these hitters, at least overall team success is something they can point to as motivation and encouragement and something to build confidence off of, because a lot of these guys have batting averages that start with ones in this season, and it's easy to be discouraged, but at least wins help with that.
Buxton grounds that one over to third. Drury fields and throws a missile to second to get the force out. So Gaviglio gets through the 6th inning here as we head to the bottom. Jays looking for some offense in Toronto.
Now we look back into the first inning where Randall Grichuk tied this game up at 1 apiece with this sweet home run out to left center field, but the reason he had to tie it up was because the Twins jumped on Chase Anderson early, scoring 1 in the first, adding on another 1 in the second, and they were adding on another 1 in the third before they scored with that 2-run home run by Sano in the 5th for their 4th and final run against Chase Anderson. His day not going how he wanted it to. 5 innings, those 4 runs, 6 hits and a walk with just 4 strikeouts. Not great for him overall after leaving today trailing. He won't pick up his 4th win of the season, and he'll add a blemish to what was a very hot start for him, 3-0 coming into today.
But I think you expect some regression from Anderson. I think as your number 4 starter, you're not going to get quality starts every single time, and kept them in the ball game at least. And now it's up to these Jays bats to see what they can do as they try to avoid losing 2 or 3 to the Twins. So Homer Bailey continues to work in the 6th, and by the way, he has looked very solid.
Yeah, he has, and he was the guy that we framed coming into this as the guy that will give you good enough innings to keep you in the game, but he's done a lot better than that now, as if he can get through this inning clean, it'll be a quality start for him, and building off of what seems to be good value for the Twins so far as they signed him on that 1-year, $7 million deal.
Payoff pitch to Grichuk is driven back into right center field, and that one is caught there by Buxton in right center.
Now batting, the designated hitter.
Pardon me, Nelson Cruz actually was there to make that play in right.
Well, for the Twins, they signed Bailey for 7, and they signed Hill for a guaranteed of $3 million. Both of those 1-year contracts, and Hill's can scale all the way up to $12 million. He's got 9 in incentives. But for them, they're just hoping to get something out of the rotation. That's a nice play there at second base by Reyes, but these 2 veteran pitchers that they signed on combined for $10 million. I think the philosophy was just if one of them pans out, then that's value. That's value returned. If 2 of them pan out, then they're laughing with 2 elites, or maybe not elite, but at the very least experienced pitchers joining their staff. Hill hurt to start the season, so maybe he's not the guy that will end up doing it for the Twins, but Bailey looking sharp so far. Just 1 out of the way from a quality start.
They made a lot of really good additions in the offseason. You look at Josh Donaldson, that was kind of their big ticket free agent. Added a couple relievers and added a couple arms, and they're really spending the money. They also signed some guys to extensions, right? I mean, Kepler's on an extension now. I believe Eddie Rosario's on an extension. You have guys like Marvin Gonzalez who you picked up free agency. Man, Minnesota is really making it rain, and it's paying off as they're constructed a very good team here, and they've got the lead.
And it's a team with no real necessarily nagging flaws either.
As we see some good defense there, the routine play is made by Arise. So 3 up, 3 down here in the 6th. Bailey continues to cruise as the Jays look to stifle that offense here in the 7th.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please.
So now it'll be Thomas Pannone into the game for the Blue Jays, the lefty.
42.
Very difficult assignment. After Gaviglio successfully navigates his way through the bottom of the Twins order, he's lifted and Pannone gets the top of the order. Very tough. 3 hitters, Arraez, Polanco, and Cruz. They'll start with Arraez hitting .377 so far this season, with 2 hits in his 3 at-bats tonight. Scored both times. No easy task, leaving lefty on lefty.
2 for 3 on the day is Arraez. Came around to score twice in this one. Takes low and away, makes his count 2-0 now.
And described by some Minnesota Twins fans as the Venezuelan Tony Gwynn for his ability to make contact and avoid the strikeout.
And the Venezuelan Tony Gwynn gets himself a base hit here to lead off the inning.
And the hope for the Twins when you put Buxton down from the leadoff spot into the 9-hole is that he'll be able to get on base and turn this lineup over with someone on base when this top of the order comes up. Unfortunately, he's 0 for 3, and not only is Buxton 0 for 3, he's ended all 3 innings that he's batted in, which means Arraez at the top of the order, who's 3 for 4, is setting the table with no one in front of him. So he's not continuing a rally, rather he's trying to start one, as he's trying to start one here now with that single to center.
Arraez, 23 years old. It's just his second year in Major League Baseball. And he hit .334 last year in his rookie year.
Solid entry into the major leagues. Last year, he made some noise in the AL Rookie of the Year voting. No major considerations just because how dominant Yordan Alvarez was with those Astros. But in another year, if he got a full season, you could definitely see him having a legitimate shot, especially some of the weaker Rookie of the Year classes that we've seen towards the early 2010s. He would have had a chance, just not the right year for him last year for that award.
And that's exactly how it goes sometimes with Rookie of the Year. It really depends on your class. As Jorge Polanco's in a 3-1 count, 0 for 3 on the day. As Pannone looks to issue 2 straight base runners. Full count now to Polanco.
Pannone into a little bit of trouble here. Nelson Cruz on deck, who he doesn't want to deal with, and a full count. He has to come right to Polanco.
Gets a nice swing and a miss there. Off that low, what appeared to be maybe a slider. Gets just below the zone and gets a nice little swing and miss from Polanco. Now 1 away.
Great use of the breaking ball now. And in the past, you might see Pannone lifted here, but of course, 3-batter minimum, he's got to stay in. And now it's going to be 4 straight righties. Interesting to see how many Pannone gets the assignment of facing, because they're all very, very strong. And especially the first 3, Cruz, Snow, and Donaldson, stronger against lefties than righties.
And a bit of a head-scratcher, Pannone's entrance into this game, considering Gaviglio worked fairly well in the 6th. The only issue to walk to Alex Avila, and then he's started some games. He can do some long relief for you. He's also a righty against a couple heavy bats here now in this lineup that are righties. I guess you want Pannone to face the top 2, or at least the top hitter in Arraez as the lefty, but still a bit of a puzzling decision.
Montoya's been effective so far with his use of the bullpen, so maybe he saw something from Gaviglio, or Gaviglio told him something that he wasn't comfortable going out for a second inning. As a result, we see Pannone.
As Cruz, his 3rd hit of the day into left, except it's caught by Gurriel Jr., but he's taken a lot of cuts. He's pulled them all, except for a pop out to the catcher back in the 1st, but it's clear he's got a real strategy against pitchers today, especially in this barn, and really his whole career. Cruz kind of more of a pull hitter. But 2 away now.
He's someone that looks for the inside pitch. You can see Sano here also hunting that inside fastball. That one was middle in, if not middle, as that one had no chance of staying in the yard here, right off of the front of the 2nd deck. That one was demolished.
It sure was. One of the blemishes on Chase Anderson's performance today. That happened back in the 5th. So we'll see what Sano gets up to now. Puts that one right between the hole on first and second. So a base hit for Sano here. His second of the day. His third time reaching base today. And now first and second, 2 away.
And Pannone will be left in here as gets a chance to escape out of his own mess as Josh Donaldson comes up. Someone that these Jays fans know well, and they've seen him produce quite a few times with 2 on and 2 out and late in the game situations similar to this one right here. So interesting to see what he does now in the enemy colors.
As he fouls off that first pitch from Pannone. Yeah, and not a great matchup for Pannone here. As he'll try to navigate out of some trouble. Curveball missing.
Well, 1-1 now. He can sequence him how he wants to, whether it's going to be attacking with the fastball. Danny Jansen's been calling for a lot of sliders to not try and challenge these hitters. There's a changeup here that misses just outside to Donaldson. So hitters count, Donaldson pulls ahead.
Yeah, this kind of situation is a good test for Jansen, the catcher, as well. You know, how are you going to sequence the pitchers? How are you going to call this game? Especially, you know, if lefty against righty, not the greatest matchup for you. But we'll see if they can navigate themselves out of this little trouble here in the 7th as they look to just keep this deficit to 2. The 2-2. It's called a ball, number 3 on that, although it looked like it may have touched part of the plate. Jansen doing a good job framing that, but doesn't get the call.
Tries to catch him on the backdoor slider. Doesn't get that one to hook quite enough to catch a bit of the zone. Call almost could have gone either way, but it goes in Donaldson's favor, and now the runners will be running here with the full count.
The payoff from Pannone. Swung on and fouled up back into the seats.
And just to quantify what we talked about, Pannone, lefties versus righties. Lefties with a OPS 60 points lower than righties throughout his career.
As Donaldson stays alive.
Donaldson already with a walk today, looking for his second one here.
And he's battling now 3 straight fouls. Full count pitch from Pannone. That one swung on over in the left field. It's a base hit. Down into the gap. 1 run scores. Another will come around third. And it's a double RBI. 2 RBI double, I should say, for Josh Donaldson here in the 7th. And it's a 6-2 ball game.
That ball about a foot over Bichette's head as he jumps and stretches his glove as high as he can. Unable to pull that one in as Donaldson drills that one all the way to the wall. And Sano's got time to score from first for the 6th run of the game for these Twins.
3 RBI in this game alone for JD.
And just 2 hits for Donaldson in his return. 3 hits for Donaldson. But 2 of them big ones. That home run last night and a 2-run double here tonight.
So a very good series for Donaldson at the plate and defensively. He's made some excellent plays at the hot corner. So now it's Mitch Garver, the catcher, looking to continue this very productive inning for the Twins with a runner on second in the form of Donaldson. Fouls it off now, a 1-2 count.
Pannone was able to work ahead against Donaldson, similar as he has against Garver, but after not getting a call, spoiled off a handful of pitches and missed a few out of the zone. Donaldson was able to battle all the way back to a full count and then eventually hit one into left center field for a double.
So a full count now. to Garver, being able to work his way back into the count. As Pannone looks to get out of this inning. It's been a troubling one for him. Gets Garver to pop up, but back into the seats. Count remains full.
And that was a pitch that caught a lot of the plate, middle of the plate, just down above the knees. Garver probably wants that one back.
Nope, ball 4. Take your base.
As that one's taken low for ball number 4. And Pannone would want that one back, and now it's a walk issued, so runners on first and second. Already 2 runs scored for the Twins in this inning. And we'll see a pitching change. It'll be the Canadian Jordan Romano making his second appearance of the season, trying to help the Jays escape from the 7th here.
And he only faced 4 batters in his first appearance. You can see he got 5 outs. The only 4 batters faced. He came in inheriting runners, grounded a double play ball that was converted successfully, then followed that up by striking out the side in his next inning of work. So he's looked flawless so far in 2020. Just the one outing. Came against these Twins on Monday, had last night off, and had the first 5 series off completely. Didn't get into a game until just then, despite making the club out of camp, and now he'll have his second chance of 2020.
As Gonzalez takes in the inside part of the plate. So Romano working quickly ahead now, 0-2. And Gonzalez fouls that one off to remain alive here.
One ball, 2 strikes.
The 1-2 to Gonzalez misses away. Evens up the count at 2 now.
As he misses wide, Gonzalez was the guy Romano faced in his first outing to induce that double play. So now again with a runner on first. Here now with 2 outs on a different night. He'll see if he can get some revenge for that.
As it's fouled off, Gonzalez continuing to stay alive. We're seeing the hitters, pretty much Donaldson, Garver, and Gonzalez all being able to battle with 2 strikes here in the 7th. I think that's a major reason they've had a lot of success.
And they really made these pitchers work here. In this 7th inning, and we're on the Jays' 4th pitcher already, what you mentioned about those deep counts is one of the big reasons why.
So the 2-2 was swung on and missed from Gonzalez, so Romano was able to get the Jays to escape the 7th, but not before Pannone allowed a couple runs. So it's a 4-run lead for the Twins as we stretch on Jackie Robinson Day. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And now we'll see a pitching change for the Twins. It'll be Cody Stashik going.
A guy that we haven't seen this series and Twins haven't seen all year. This is his first pitching appearance in 2020, and he's got a tough one. Here's Travis Shaw back in the 2nd inning. This is what he did to give the Jays their 2nd run of the game, and unfortunately for them, haven't been able to really add on to that to try and close this deficit. He'll be back up at the plate to start against Cody Stashik.
Shaw's got 2 home runs in this series after hitting one in the first game back on Monday, and now one earlier, as you mentioned. And, of course, all the players on the diamond wearing number 42 today, as we mentioned earlier. It is, of course, Jackie Robinson Day, honoring the first African-American to play in modern Major League Baseball. The Hall of Famer, World Series champ, 6-time All-Star. As that one's hits the pitcher, Stashik, and he's able to still make the play. His shot was unable to beat out the throw. Good job by Stashik being able to recover, field, and throw. That can't be easy, and he looks a little shaken up there.
Yeah, they're going to take a second. Garver's coming out to look at him. We've seen a couple balls back to the pitcher in our previous games, and they've stayed in. It looks like Stashik is going to try to do the same here, but not the best greeting to your outing or to your season. I mean, his first appearance of the year, that's not how he saw it going for him at all.
As Drury takes inside for strike one. And so the reason that we celebrate Jackie Robinson today on April 15th is because that's when he made his Major League debut back in 1947.
And we talked about him on the field. He's obviously a whole lot bigger than just a baseball player. And a lot of people understand that, of course, there was the color barrier and segregation, but just how much he had to endure as he came up as a major leaguer.
As Drury singles into right with one away. Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this, and kind of the lasting impact that Jackie has on baseball. You know, you look at the Dodgers themselves signing him and beginning the end of racial segregation in Major League Baseball, taking that step. How about Pee Wee Reese, one of the few players on his team at the time, initially when Jackie broke in, who supported him, stood by him. That's breaking barriers as well. When the teammates are supporting, the player breaking those barriers. That was really what started to turn the tides in Major League Baseball. And of course, life isn't perfect, but those barriers being broken is so important and has influenced the game we see today. And the reason that everyone wears 42 today, of course, is, as I mentioned, because Jackie wore 42 and debuted on April 15th, but it actually started with Ken Griffey Jr., of course, famous player, outfielder with the Mariners for a long time. And he sought Rachel Robinson, Jackie Robinson's widow, her permission to wear the number. And after Griffey received her permission, Commissioner Bud Selig not only allowed Griffey to wear the number, but also extended an invitation to all Major League teams to do the same. So a very nice tribute there from players around baseball.
And it's a nice tradition that you don't see really in any other sport. Baseball, of course, numbers have great significance with retired numbers, and the fact that the Yankees don't have basically any single-digit numbers available, for example, just because of all the history that are tied to the numbers that you see on the backs of jerseys. And everyone wearing 42 is one of the nice tributes that year in, year out you see as one of baseball's best traditions.
So first and second now for Danny Jansen. And the Jays really need to get back in this ball game. Not too many more outs to work with, so here's a really good opportunity for the catcher, who's 2 for 2 on the day. Falls behind now in the count 1-2.
And just to, I guess, add on to what we've talked about with Jackie Robinson, the most damning story that I think I've seen about Robinson was in 1950, a game in Cincinnati. He received not only death threats, as he received death threats throughout a lot of his career, unfortunately. There was threats that there would be snipers actively at one of his games in Cincinnati trying to take him out. So they had security called in, and it was a full-on death threat. They had to get police involved, and just absolutely horrific stuff that was brought in for a guy that was just trying to play baseball.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much the world has changed since then for the good. And part of that is Jackie Robinson. People like him, being able to break barriers, strong people. That's not easy, right? To have snipers in the crowd and still being able to play through all that and all those threats, as you mentioned, all the death threats and all the horrible things that were shouted at him. To play through that takes a very special type of person. And so we honor him today with the number 42. And so it'll be Bo Bichette really struggling in this one, 0 for 3. Struggling this season, frankly, but he's got a good chance now with 2 away to try to salvage this inning for the Jays as he takes a strike.
We saw the Jays yesterday put up 3 in the 9th, at which point it was too little too late, down by 8. Here it's not out of reach, and a late rally is exactly what they need.
As that one's grounded right back up to the pitcher. And the play is made to first, so Bichette is retired, and the Jays are retired without being able to score any runs. So it remains a 6-2 game. We head to the 8th in Toronto. And welcome back to Toronto. It's a 4-run lead for the Twins here in the top of the 8th inning. As we'll see the first baseman, Alex Avila, lead things off. 0 for 2 on the day with a walk, and Jordan Romano will continue his outing. And having got a strikeout back in the 7th to end the inning, they'll try to keep this lead to just 4. Try to give his bats something to work with. Although they haven't been too productive today.
Avila was one of the strikeout victims against Romano back in Romano's first game of the season, where he came in and picked up the save, striking out the side in the 9th. Avila, one of those 3 victims. Again, Avila going 0 for 4 that game with 4 strikeouts.
Avila flies up to center there, so the leadoff hitter is retired, and he'll bring up Byron Buxton, who's 0 for 3 on the day.
Now batting, the center fielder, Byron Buxton.
And Montoyo giving Romano a couple innings of work here. A guy that was not used all that often. Now he's going to get a chance. Low leverage innings, down 4, to see what he's got here pitching. Now into his 2nd inning. They'll have the off day tomorrow, so everyone in that bullpen, including Romano, will get a rest before heading on the road trip. But Romano probably appreciating some chance to get some work in here.
That one's drilled right back up the middle. Buxton gets his first base hit of the day.
And speed on the bases. Talked about it multiple times now, how he had been unable to do exactly that. And now the Twins have one of many red-hot hitters coming up to the plate with Luis Arias now.
3 for 4 on the day. Takes low, ball 1.
After him, it'll be Polanco, then Cruz. Just continuing what has been an absolutely red-hot murderer's row at the top of the order for this Twins.
Pick-up attempt to no avail, though. Pretty good idea. Clearly, Romano has the runner in the back of his mind. Buxton very speedy. And the 1-0 is slapped into left field. It'll roll down. Gurriel's there, but not before Buxton goes first to third on that single to left.
The hit and run on, and in effect, the two really good guys to do it with, because even if Arias misses, Buxton's got the speed to almost make it in there safely regardless. And then Luis Arias, one of the best bat-on-ball guys in this lineup, if not the best, and one of the strongest in the American League at doing that. Gets a fastball out over the middle of the plate, and they have no problem converting that hit and run, as now it's runners on the corners with 1 away.
Pretty much the ideal textbook example for a hit and run, because with Buxton attempting a steal, Bichette had to move over to second if there were to be a throw and to apply the tag. So that left the whole left side of the infield kind of wide open for Arias to just dish one out. And that looks like it'll be a sac fly to center as Buxton is able to score. So an RBI for Jorge Polanco here makes this a 7-2 ball game.
And another run comes in for the Twins. One more that the Jays will have to score if they're trying to come back. And not an easy task against the Twins because they've got one of the better closers in baseball. Taylor Rogers yet to allow a run. We haven't seen him yet this series because there hasn't been a close Twins win yet. But even beyond him, Trevor May, a guy that looked really good last year. We haven't seen him either. Jays have their work in order if they do intend on coming back in this one tonight.
Nelson Cruz 1 for 4 with a home run back in the third. He's had some hard contact to left in this one. Kind of the MO with him as he fouls that one off into the seats.
Even on his foul balls, it's solid contact made. You can see the pure power and strength that he has in that upper body of his.
Checks his swing there on that low pitch. So for ball number 1 now. Cruz, a guy who it's very clear he's renovated his swing at some point during his career. Especially, you look at his numbers, that's very evident as well. Hit 40 home runs for the first time in his career at the age of 33. The 2-2 to Cruz. Swung on and missed. A strikeout, his first of the day. Cruz's. And Romano was able to get out of this inning, but not before allowing another run. So as we head to the bottom of the 8th, it's a 5-run lead for Minnesota.
Your attention, please. Now pitching for the Twins.
I want to welcome back to the Virtual Jays Network, Jackson Farough alongside Drew Frank. Bottom of the 8th, and we'll see another bullpen arm come out of the Twins' pen. It's Corey Guerin.
And it's a guy we saw earlier on in another low-leverage situation for the Twins. Here, he's not the setup man by any means, but a guy that they can bring on and for reliable innings and hope that he can get 3 outs without making this deficit any closer than it is now.
That's the ball. Outside.
So we see their bullpen continue to work, both Clippard and May getting loose. We also see some fans head towards the exits here. Got to catch that go train. But it is admittedly rather early to be doing so, although a 5-run game and the way the Jays' bats have been going, they've been pretty quiet. And they were able to put up 3 runs yesterday, but it was all late. And now we'll see if they can generate some more late-game offense, starting with Kevin Biggio.
Trevor May up in the pen is the guy that, if this game draws close and towards a save situation, he would be coming in, trying to stop the bleeding and get the Twins out of the inning. Clippard's a guy we saw yesterday, again, more of a low-leverage arm if needed.
So 2-2 to Biggio.
Strikeout, and they grounded into double play for him tonight. Nothing impressive so far.
Another strikeout now for Biggio. That's 2 for him on the day. And so Guerin retires the first batter he sees.
Now batting, the center fielder.
Biggio goes down with a bit of an ugly cut there, well out in front of that slider in on the hands. Almost jumps out of the way of that one as he tries to reposition himself to get bat on ball. Not a good look from the young second baseman, and now Drichik's up here with 1 out.
And something that's pretty unusual for Biggio, usually a very experienced approach to the plate, not usually taking those wild swings. But nonetheless, he's retired on strikes. So it's the center fielder Grichuk, 1 for 3, with the home run back in the first. Takes a big cut there, 1-1 now.
Guerin, a guy that'll attack hitters, working that fastball slider. You see the slider there, complements it with a fastball in the low to mid 90s, but it's the strong break on that slider that'll generate a lot of his effectiveness.
And a deep cut misses there. So 2 strikeouts in a row for Corey Guerin to enter this game.
Now batting, the designated hitter.
And there he works in his third pitch. That's the changeup right there. Didn't mention it, but breaks it out to retire Randall Grichuk. And now 2 quick outs for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming on with the bases empty, down 5.
0 for 3 on the day, popped out back in the 6th in his last at-bat.
No, that's it.
Takes inside 2-0, and Junior himself a little slower now, along with the rest of this Jays lineup recently. 1 for 3 yesterday, or pardon me, yes, 1 for 4 yesterday, oof. And then 1 for 3 on Monday with a walk. So kind of just usual run-of-the-mill, although he did get an RBI on Monday. And he's got lots of responsibility in this lineup, that's for sure. And a 2-1 count now.
And he swings through that one, unable to do anything with the off-speed pitch. And poised to hit their 2-0, swings and misses through a changeup.
Sprays it into right field, but Cruz hardly has to move. And is able to make the play. So we head now to the 9th inning. It's still a 7-2 ball game for the Twins.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please.
Oh, welcome back. So now we'll see Justin Miller coming to the bullpen for the Jays to get some work in the 9th.
Romano looked pretty solid over an inning and a third of work, but allows back-to-back base hits to the 9-hitter and the leadoff hitter, which leads to Buxton coming around to score. So he'll be relieved here as it's Miller who gets 4-5-6.
And he misses low with that slider. Yeah, right the middle of the order here now for Miller, who's been excellent in both high leverage and low leverage.
Ball, that's down.
And he's really what he's done this year is attack with the fastball. Down 2-0, expect a fastball in the inner half here.
And there it is.
2 balls, 1 strike.
Just like you call it, Drew.
He's used that fastball to set up the slider, but really relied on the fastball this season.
That was lined right over the first baseman, Shaw, playing in a bit of a shift there to his right. So 1 away now.
And Sano going against the shift, you can see, looking skyward, he thought he would have had extra bases because he had all sorts of room in that outfield to turn for 2 if he gets past Shaw, but as you mentioned, Shaw right where it's hit and reins that one in for the first out.
So now it'll be Josh Donaldson, most likely for the final time this series, in a little visit to his old stomping grounds. He's been excellent, especially in this one. 2 for 3 with a walk. And 3 RBI for the third base slugger as well.
1-1.
Well, and the Twins here, if they can take 2 of 3 in the Rogers Center as they look set up to do, they'll have some momentum as they head back home to start a homestand on Friday. They've got the travel day tomorrow, but then they begin a 10-game homestand hosting Detroit, then Seattle, before finally Boston.
Yeah, so after the Jays win 4 in a row, after they took the last 3 in the Kansas City series, and then the first one of this series, some pitching issues for them here. Now, I'd make the argument, it's tough to say whether it's the pitching or just the really good hitting for the Twins, as Donaldson strikes out.
And there's some interesting games going on around the majors tonight. How about that Rays game that we talked about earlier? 3-run homer pulls them ahead thanks to Austin Meadows. Well, right back at them comes Yordan Alvarez, whose home run gives Houston the lead, and they're up 9-7 right now.
That's the ball.
So quite the offensive showcasing in that.
And for a pitching showcase, how about over at Citi Field, where Atlanta's Felix Hernandez, yes, that Felix Hernandez, comes back to the major leagues and pitches a complete game shutout tonight. 9 innings, 0 earned runs, strikes out 5, and just dazzles the Mets hitters tonight.
Yeah, it feels like 2012 all of a sudden. The 2-0 to Garver, taken for a strike.
That fastball getting up to 97. Again, that's Miller's number 1 pitch. A lot of pitchers we see fastball slider like Guerin, who we saw in the top of the inning. A very fastball slider, but the slider's the main piece. For Miller, it's the other way around. The fastball's the big piece.
2-2.
So he picks the corner there on the inside part of the plate. 2-2 now. And Garver strikes out. So 3 up, 3 down this inning for Miller. A couple strikeouts. And now it is a chance for Toronto to begin a rally if they want to get back in this one. 7-2 game as we head to the bottom of the 9th. So it'll be 5, 6, 7, pardon me, yes, 5, 6, 7 hitters for the Jays trying to get some runs scored and try to get back in this game. The Rally Caps are out here at the Rogers Center from whoever's left.
1-0.
And how did we get here? Well, it started off actually with the Blue Jays, being able to take the lead, or pardon me, come back, tie the game up after a Donaldson RBI back in the first, gave the Twins the lead, 1-0. Grichuk came back, hit a solo shot, so it was a 1-1 game, and Shaw actually helped the Jays take the lead with a solo shot for himself back in the second. But then Nelson Cruz with a home run, and then in the 5th, a 2-run shot by Sano, and Donaldson with a double that generated a couple RBI, and Polanco as well with a sac fly that drove in a run. So and the Jays have really struggled at the plate in many regards, but I think today was just more and even yesterday, I think the Twins doing a really good job of, just generating a lot of offense.
Offense and pitching, both. I mean, anytime you have a game where a Shaw goes down and doesn't like the call, it's talking about the pitching right there. Up by 5 in this game, won last night's game by 5. The pitching looked really good in both games, and for the Twins. Maybe not so much for the Jays, but for the Twins, the pitching looked really good. And the offense, you mentioned, it's high-profile batters that have lived up to their names and lived up to the pedigree that they've established throughout their career.
So the last batter up here for the Jays, at least as of now with 2 away, is Brandon Drury, the third baseman. Had a single back in the 7th. And he is the Jays' last chance to start something. But they will most likely drop this one. And so they'll head on their road trip, starting with Tampa on Friday. And they'll try to kind of recover from getting hit pretty hard in these last 2 games. And they're going to say Drury didn't go there. Evens up the count now at 2. But life doesn't get much easier because, yes, the Rays have had a tough start to the year, but you're still going into their building, and the pitching for the Rays, they're quite the factory over there when it comes to arms.
We see a very strong one to start the series. Friday night, it'll be Tyler Glasnow, a guy we mentioned, not the most established hitter or pitcher because he hasn't had too many opportunities, but 2020 could be a breakout year for him.
Nope, that's ball 4. Runner take the base.
As Drury gets a 2-out walk, that'll bring him aboard, and now it's Teoscar Hernandez, who's 1 for 2 in the day with a walk.
Hernandez.
We saw the Jays show a little bit of life back in last night's 9th inning, despite being down by a handful, as they strung together a few runners and put 3 runs up on the boards. Now they've only got 1 out to play with, but Drury gets on board at the very least.
Hernandez laces that one over into right field off the wall. So now that'll get Drury to advance to third. So now Hernandez's first double of the year gives the Jays second and third with 2 away.
Well, the Jays' pulse is still beating. Not done yet. 2 runners in scoring position now. Of course, 2 runs isn't going to make too big of a difference here, but you've got to score 2 before you can score 5.
That math, I think, checks out. So now it'll be Danny Jansen, the number 9 hitter. 2 for 3 on the day with a double and a single. Hitting a nice round 300 average and a 900 OPS. Starts off with the first pitch, strike taken right up the middle from Guerin.
Jansen, a solid day so far today. Big double in the 2nd inning and struck out in his last at-bat, but a single before that looked pretty nice, and 2 for 3 on the day.
No, that missed. That's the ball.
Kind of returning to the form he had back in the Yankees series where he was absolutely dominant. And a 1-1 count now as Guerin deals. Missing low there. So Jansen gets ahead in the count 2-1 as he'll look to get himself a couple RBI. He's got a great opportunity.
And Guerin up approaching 30 pitches already here.
Yeah, and the Blue Jays are really making him work now as Jansen fouls that one off. Evens up the count at 2. The 2-2 dealt by Guerin is low. And that's ball 3, so it's a full count now with Bo Bichette on deck.
And boy, wouldn't he love to get a chance here to hit with runners on base, needing a chance to redeem himself after a very rough series.
As the full count is fouled off. Payoff from Guerin is sprayed foul once again. 33 pitches for the reliever here.
Quite a battle. Neither player wants to give in here, as it'll be another payoff pitch.
That one's hit right back up to Guerin. He fields, and that's the ball game. So the Twins take this one 7-2, and they take the series 2 games to 1. After dropping the opener on Monday, 3-1, they really explode for 15 runs over the course of 2 games and are able to shred the Blue Jays pitching.
Well, the Jays will have to settle for taking 4 of 7 on this homestand. They won 3 against Kansas City, pick up 1 of 3 here against the Twins tonight, and still a winning homestand, but after starting 3-1, maybe not as strong as they might have been hoping for.
No, so now after winning 4 in a row, they'll drop 2 in a row. So we'll see which kind of team we'll get in Tampa on Friday, but definitely a team that's going to want to redeem themselves after struggling on the mound in this series. And I think one storyline that probably won't get talked about enough from this game is Homer Bailey. He had himself quite a pretty good outing.
Oh, he sure did. I mean, didn't walk a batter, and that's kind of what you expect from Homer Bailey. It talked about his pounding the zone and his mentality of just trying to get a quality start, just trying to keep the Twins in the game and being as effective as he needs to be in that span to get that job done. And boy, he sure got that job done tonight.
And so the veteran gets the win. Miguel Sano goes 2 for 4 with a home run and a couple RBI. Luis Ariz, how about him? 4 for 5 with 3 runs scored and a double. Josh Donaldson, 3 RBI. He had a great series as well. And of course, Nelson Cruz, all that power, he gets a home run. And so it'll be Trent Thornton against Tyler Glasnow on Friday, so a day off tomorrow. So he won't go to air. But on Friday, we'll have full coverage of the first game of that 3-game set in Tampa Bay here on the Virtual Jays Network. Sets up to be quite a cool pitching duel between 2 young arms.
And be sure to note the start times. It's 7:10 on Friday, but then Saturday it's a bit of a different 6:10 p.m. Eastern start time before Sunday returns to a typical afternoon game at 1:10 p.m. So join us for all 3 of those games. As you mentioned, 2 pretty young teams and a set of interesting pitchers throughout the series, but especially on Friday night.
And so the Twins pick up this one by a score of 7-2 on Jackie Robinson Day. And so for Jackson Farough and Drew Frank, we appreciate you joining us today on the Virtual Jays Network, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Have a great evening.